So today we're going to be watching this video about Poland and their border policies. It is very controversial for a lot of people, so let's get into it.
Poland has adopted a zero-tolerance policy of going to the extent of even shooting illegal migrants who attempt to cross their borders illegally.
We are not doing anything. Shoot me. This is the Poland army. Oi! I'm going. Please, no.
I think a lot of people are taking advantage of the kindness of Europeans or Western countries. It's very clear, don't cross the border. If you cross the border or try to get into the country, you will be shot or you're not allowed to come. But people don't respect these borders anymore because there's so many policies in America before Trump got elected and in Western Europe where people were just allowing these people to freely come into the country. So of course, nobody's going to respect the law. There has to be a good balance of kindness and punishment, right? I think what we've had in the West for a very long time is just all about kindness. We need to be compassionate to all these people coming into the country. But if you're too lax, you're going to get taken advantage of. And this is a main problem because unfortunately the world is full of cheaters. There are a lot of bad people out in this world. And I think a lot of people from Western countries, because we come from privileged countries, we like to think that, oh, all we got to do is educate people and people can be educated to think the way that we think. But as we're seeing right now in Western Europe, that is not the case. There are gangs in Sweden now going into a bunch of businesses demanding to pay a bribe essentially or to get protection from the streets. And then when they don't pay, those gangs will go and bomb these businesses. And this never happened in Sweden before. This is a very recent thing. I understand why Poland is so hesitant to let illegal immigrants into their country or refugees. Some people may say it's racist, but honestly, I think it's very pragmatic because we see evidence of it going on in Western Europe right now. A lot of people are afraid to explain the main reason why Western Europeans are going down the drain because of fear of being called racist.
I record everything. I will show everything to humanity.
This has been applied
And this is a big issue too, right? It's like this guy went up to the border, antagonized the Polish army, told them to shoot me, and then when he got shot, he's playing the victim, right? This is so annoying, and I hate this victim mentality. It's like, F around and find out, right?
mostly to migrants and Islamists crossing illegally through the Belarus border to get into Poland. The Prime Minister is clear. We don't want them here. Shoot anyone who violates this policy.
You don't want to be pushed back, do not come to Polish border, because we just passed the law that our soldiers, Coast Guard or whatever, they can use live bullets to kill. So if you want to come to Poland, you will be killed.
Poland has been declared the safest country in Europe with no Muslims. Its economy is fast growing. They have no terrorist attacks.
Okay, so this isn't entirely accurate. Poland does have a Muslim population, and you can see a few here and there walking around. They refuse to let Islam come into their country and try to change the culture, right? So I don't think they will allow mosques to be built. They protect their Catholic culture very strongly, and they refuse to let outside influences in, which I honestly don't really have a problem with. I think that's totally fine. I can confirm that the safety here is on a whole other level. It's one of the safest countries in Europe, if not the safest country in Europe right now. And nobody wants to say the main reason why it's this way. And everybody wants to say Poland is racist or I'm racist for really saying what the problem is, but this is the reality of the situation. This is how it is. Also, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel.
have no knife crimes, and people in the country are happy, and this is because of their hard stance on illegal Muslim immigration. Poland's response to the challenges at its eastern frontier, particularly along the border with Belarus, has become a focal point of national and international attention. The Polish government has adopted stringent border control measures aimed at addressing unauthorized border crossings and bolstering national security. While these policies have been lauded by some for their effectiveness in maintaining internal safety, they have also drawn criticism from human rights organizations and European Union partners. Poland shares a 418-kilometer border with Belarus, a frontier that has increasingly become a flashpoint for migration and geopolitical tensions. In recent years, The region has witnessed a surge in unauthorized crossings, prompting concerns over national security and public safety. The Polish government has characterized these border challenges as threats not only to its territorial integrity, but also to the stability of the European Union as a whole. In response, Poland has implemented a series of controversial measures designed to deter unauthorized entries. These measures include the construction of a physical barrier, increased surveillance, and the deployment of additional border personnel. The government's stance is clear. There is zero tolerance for unauthorized entry into Poland. Recent incidents at the border have underscored the challenges facing Polish authorities. Reports of damage to border infrastructure, confrontations between migrants and border personnel, and heightened security concerns have prompted the government to adopt more aggressive strategies. The deployment of military forces to assist border guards.
I don't understand why this is so controversial, right? And this is funny because this is what Donald Trump was saying his first time he ran for president, to build the wall. This is something that Obama was talking about in 2008 when he was running for president. You can't have a country if you don't protect its borders, right? Like, what is the point of having rules and regulations if people just come and break them? I was having this conversation with one of my friends, he's Italian, right? And he was telling me that it's easier to get into the US illegally than it is to get into the country legally. Isn't that messed up? I find that so ridiculous. I think there are good people that are genuinely seeking refugee and asylum and trying to come to these countries. But I also think there's a lot of people taking advantage of the system and nobody wants to talk about that. If you choose to move to another country, it's your responsibility to assimilate to that culture. And the problem with Islam, because of how integrated the religion is to every aspect of their life, because God is telling them to stay faithful to the religion, they don't need to integrate into society because God does not allow them to, or they use the religion argument. This is an experience that I had with my ex-wife and why I had a divorce. She always used religion to try to manipulate every aspect of our relationship. And every time she didn't agree with something, she would always just say, oh, God doesn't want me to do this. God this, God this. So this is the main issue with bringing all of these people into a European country that has a completely different religion. Poland is very Catholic, but a lot of other Western European countries are just not religious at all, right? So when you have two very conflicting ideas living in an area, of course there's going to be tension. And this is just the story of humanity. Tribes have been fighting over ideas and ways of life since the dawn of time. I personally have Muslim friends, and I think they're great people, and I think individually, religious people are great people, not just Islam, is also Christianity or Catholicism. As soon as you have big organized religion, people use that to manipulate and control. And there's a lot of corruption that goes inside these religions. So I totally understand Poland's stance to want to keep this ideology out of their country. Just like the Middle Eastern countries are totally in their rights to keep Christianity out of their countries, right? I don't think this is a problem at all.
Has been a notable aspect of this approach, reflecting the seriousness with which the government views the situation. Officials have made strong statements regarding their commitment to maintaining strict border control. Poland's interior minister has emphasized that the country will do whatever it takes to protect its borders, reinforcing the narrative of a nation under threat. This rhetoric resonates with Polish citizens, many of whom support the government's firm stance on immigration.
Most Polish too,
One of the key arguments in favor of Poland's stringent border policies is their apparent success in maintaining internal security.
Yes.
The country has reported lower crime rates compared to many of its European neighbours, a trend that many attribute to effective border management. The government's narrative positions strict immigration controls as a means to enhance public safety and social cohesion. Public opinion surveys indicate that a significant portion of the Polish population supports the government's approach to border security. Many citizens believe that strict border controls contribute to a safer environment, preventing potential criminal activity associated with unauthorized migrants. This perception reinforces the government's stance and provides a political mandate for its policies.
Also, none of this looks peaceful to me. Look, I think there are a lot of honest, hardworking families that want to come into European countries and have a better life for themselves. But you also have to acknowledge the other side of the coin, that there are people like this that also exist trying to break into the country. And Poland has every right to defend their country. I don't understand why this is so hard to understand.
Despite the domestic support for Poland's border measures, these policies have faced significant criticism from international human rights organizations and EU partners. Critics argue that the stringent border controls violate humanitarian obligations under international law. The issues are particularly pressing regarding the treatment of migrants and asylum seekers, who often find themselves in precarious situations at the border. Rights advocates have raised concerns about the conditions faced by individuals attempting to cross into Poland. Reports of pushbacks, where migrants are forcibly returned to Belarus without proper consideration of their claims for asylum, have garnered widespread condemnation. Such actions are viewed as violations of the principle of non-refoulement, which prohibits returning individuals to places where they may face persecution or harm.
This law makes zero sense to me, right? Every country has the right to protect their borders. Why do you have to prioritize other citizens and people coming into your countries and give them rights over the protection and security of your own citizens? That doesn't make any sense to me. And when people say that you're violating human rights, you also have to admit that there's a lot of people that want to take advantage of the system as well. I just don't think the policy or the rules are good. I think they come from a place of compassion, but they're very stupid. I think a lot of people who are on the compassionate side that say that we want to be compassionate to everybody, we can educate people to thinking the right way, but I think history and Western Europe has shown that to not be the case.
The Polish government defends its measures by citing national security concerns, arguing that the situation at the border poses a risk not only to Poland, but to the entire European Union. However, this justification is met with skepticism by many who emphasize that security should not come at the expense of human rights. EU officials have expressed concerns over Poland's border policies, urging the government to respect the rights of migrants and adhere to international law. The European Commission has called for a balanced approach that addresses both security needs and humanitarian obligations. Poland's model of border management has attracted attention from other nations grappling with similar challenges. Countries facing migratory pressures.
You know what's funny? So I'm here in Warsaw right now, right? Down the street from my buddy's apartment, they had a conference with European countries about security. And I think there's people from Sweden and people from the UK, and they came to ask Poland for help on how they were able to protect their country and maintain security in their country. And it's so crazy to me that I feel like the answer is very, very obvious, but everyone's like, no, it can't be that. Nah, it can't be our super liberal border policies and letting anybody in. It can't be two-tier policing. Nah, it can't be any of that. There's gotta be a better way. When I was younger, I used to have a very idealistic view of the world, and I used to think that people are good and all you gotta do is give people a chance. But then I realized that that's not the case. There's a lot of good people out there, but there's also a lot of bad people out there. And you can't just say that everybody is good or everybody has the chance to be good. There are some people out there that are really bad.
Particularly along the European periphery, are studying Poland's approach as a potential template for their own border control strategies. However, the effectiveness of such measures is often contingent upon the specific political, social, and economic context of different countries. While some nations may seek to replicate Poland's model, it's essential to recognize that approaches to border security vary significantly across Europe. The balance between safeguarding national interests and upholding humanitarian principles remains a contentious debate. Poland's stringent border control measures represent a complex balancing act between national security and humanitarian obligations. While the government's firm stance has garnered public support and contributed to a sense of safety, it has also raised significant human rights concerns. The ongoing debates surrounding these policies illustrate the challenges facing nations in an increasingly interconnected world.
I really hate the human rights argument because I agree that it's important, but I think it's also a first world privilege to be able to care about things like that. A lot of people from Western countries care about climate change so much, but a lot of people in these poor countries honestly are just trying to make it out of poverty and survive. So they're gonna do whatever it takes, and if it means destroying the environment in order for them to have a better future for their family, they're going to do it. So I think a lot of these issues are very complex, and I'm just personally sick and tired of people coming from privileged countries or backgrounds trying to lecture the world on how you need to treat people and handle people. You travel the world and you go to some of these poor countries and you see the reality of the world, right? When I was in Colombia, I saw how violent and bad people can be. People will kill you there for 10 bucks. So when I hear people from these really safe European countries saying that, oh, we have to act this way, human rights, we have to be compassionate to everybody. But if you're like that in Colombia and you just open your doors to everybody, you're gonna get killed, you're gonna get robbed, and people are going to take advantage of you. And unfortunately, that's the reality in many places around the world. I'm curious to see what happens in Europe over the next few years, but I'm very happy to be in Poland, and I fully support their strong anti-illegal immigration policy. I highly recommend that you guys watch this video next, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.